Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Posh podcast, where we provide a safe place for people to share their unique stories and where we try really hard to spread awareness. And today, again, is one of those days where we're going to continue. I want to say hi to my beautiful co-hosts, my daughter, Marcella.
Hello.
My son's girlfriend, Whitley.
Hi.
Our DJ technician, Spider.
Hello.
And our special guest today, Colleen
Michaelis. Yep,
Oh,
you
hi.
got
I almost
it.
got
Yay.
it.
To European.
We are so honored that you came to see us today.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone goes and listens to this episode before this one and gets to hear about your special son.
Thank you.
Tommy McClenahan.
Yep.
That sadly passed away less than 3 months ago. And his mama is so strong to come on and talk about a lot of things to help people be aware. To maybe make some changes. That would be the ultimate thing.
Yes.
And once again, we're just so deeply sorry
Thank you.
for your loss.
Thank
I think I want to concentrate on the epidemic itself and how awful it is and how many people it affects. It is every age group.
Every age group. Although drug overdose is now the number one cause of death for under 25 years old.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yes.
Me neither.
More than car accidents.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
It is the number one.
Yep.
I saw this.
And this, yes, I was going to bring this
Why
up.
don't you read it?
I posted this. I'm in the middle of reading this book, Dopesick, and it's amazing. And I've mentioned it a couple times in the previous podcast, but this was one of the things that I posted because I really wanted, I really wanted my community to hear it. So it says, our culture seems to excuse drug and other risk-taking in white upper middle class kids, especially young men. The same liberties when taken by rural poor whites or people of color, wherever they live, come across as more desperate, born of fundamental wants or needs that can't be satisfied. But as I've come to learn, gauged strictly by drug use, there's no less urgency and desperation in America's middle and upper classes today.
Wow. It is unbelievable, right? I mean, I recently heard that one of my youngest daughter's friends' mom, she told me that her dad, who was a dad, 3 children, raising them, died of a drug overdose when she was 14 years old, all the way back. But you would never know.
Right.
Just people in their 50s. It doesn't matter. There's no discrimination of age, race, gender,
Where you live.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
I think I experienced this with 2 friends who lost their sons as well. And I think the dates are always such a, like, you go strong on certain dates, and then when that date comes around, this number it is just so stressful leading up to that date.
Right.
And you wrote some things about that on Facebook.
Yes.
And you said, tomorrow 1 month. It's hard to believe that a whole entire month has passed without you in it. A couple of things that I've learned. Life goes on unbelievably. It does. I bet you can't believe that. I'm surrounded by so many people that love me and that love you. I'm so freaking proud of you. Little kids say the stupidest things, yet they know no better. I'm not alone. Your brother is not as good as you were at picking losers for a football pool, and I know you'd laugh at that. No one knows what to say to me, but even in the awkwardness, they're providing a huge amount of peace. I miss our daily text messages so much. I'm doing stupid things like ordering your cologne on Amazon because your backpack is very quickly losing your scent, and I'm wearing it. Sleep has become something that I need and don't need or want at the same time. Literally nothing else matters so seriously, not sweating the small stuff at all. I think and dream and hope that you're immensely happy. Right. This.
Minute.
Heaven is real. I love you. And there's the second month. And you say, as the 10th of the second month rolls around, I'm not sure what's worse, this day or the 2 or 3 days in the month leading up to this day. Days that are filled with anxiety and dread. I'd like to say it's gotten easier, but it's only gotten harder. I miss everything about you. Did you know that the number 2 is everywhere? What is the number 2?
So he was the number 2 in lacrosse.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just everywhere. And I think that's where I talk about the kindergartners. Did I say that the kindergartners?
So strong is that number that it prompted an entire kindergarten class to start chanting "I love too."
We were playing this
out of nowhere.
We were playing this game, and we were using what's called poly spots, and we weren't using for any number reason. They were supposed to go stand on them and toss a beanbag. And so, and if they tossed the beanbag and it got into the bucket, then they could take the poly spot, back to their team. So this one poly spot had the number 2 on it, and this little boy goes running back to his team. I love 2. I love 2. And it prompted his team to start saying it. And then the rest of the class for about 10 seconds. But it was like, I love 2. I love 2. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but I just was like, my gosh. Oh my gosh.
They say it's little messages.
Yeah. So anyway, that was his number in lacrosse.
Wow. Homecoming King 2018. First football game I had been to in 3 years. Football player number 2.
Yeah, the homecoming king. It was kind of cute. The king was a football player, and the queen ended up being one of the cheerleaders, which hardly ever happens. But anyway, yeah, we're standing there. I got to go on the field because I'm friends with important people, and so we were standing right down there, and they announced the homecoming king, and here comes this walking straight towards us, the number 2.
Yeah. Wondered why that huge guy came and stood 5 inches away from my face until I clued into the back of his shirt, a vintage Tupac concert t-shirt.
Tommy's dog is named Pock after Tupac.
Okay.
His German Shepherd. And so, I was standing there with my friend, and this guy comes up, he's like this big, and he's like standing literally this close. And I look at her and I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, get out of my space. Yeah. And then there was the Tupac concert t-shirt, like I looked at the t-shirt and it was vintage.
Wow. But do those things give you like peace and kind of I like seeing those things. I feel
and whether they're random or whether I'm making, it's bringing me peace to see it,
right?
Whether anybody's up there orchestrating it or not, I don't know, but
they say that.
They say that. So. I know. I like to think so.
I do too.
Remember the last shirt you ordered, the one that came too late for you to wear, the limited edition Kanye shirt with Wyoming across the front? How did that random kid in that random restaurant in Miami have the exact same one on? Yeah,
so Kanye West, Tommy was very into like unusual, like he'd order unusual stuff, t-shirts and stuff. And so Kanye West had made this t-shirt. It's like that, like a coral color, a weird orangey coral color, and it has Wyoming and weird letters across here, and then it says Kanye on the back. And anyway, that came after he passed. So his roommate sent it up, to me. And so I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love having this shirt. And so when I was in Miami visiting Ben a month ago, we walked into a restaurant, and it was a very limited edition shirt. I don't know how. Yeah, it was like maybe 100 of them were printed off. And so I walked in there, and there's this blonde kid sitting at the table with that shirt on.
What the heck?
And I was like, oh my gosh, and I even called him over and showed my friend, and then, anyway, it just was pretty crazy.
That's unbelievable.
I love that though.
I do too. The book you and I read together when you were in 8th grade, the book that prompted some of our very first adult conversations, Beautiful Boy, has been made into a movie. Not sure I'll be able to get through it, but at the same time, can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so Beautiful Boy, you guys may have seen the trailer.
I did recently.
It breaks my heart because it reminds me so much of the way James was speaking to Tommy and felt about Tommy, how much he loved him and everything. And you're just like, this is not us. Why? What are you doing? So, but anyway, Tommy and I read that book together for like a project or something in 8th grade. And then, so that was the dad's perspective. And then the son's perspective is called Tweaked. And because his son's issue is meth, not heroin. And I guess tweaked means you need it or you're tweaking, whatever. Anyway, so what they did with the movie is they took the dad's perception and the son's and they kind of mixed it together, but they called it Beautiful Boy because the son's perception is different than the dad's. Like, we all view stuff through our own lenses, right?
Right.
So I'm looking very forward to seeing it, but it'll be a tough one.
That's going to be hard.
For sure, yeah.
I saw that preview when I went to go see A Star is Born a few weeks ago, and I was like, what is this about? It looked so intense, but I had no idea that it was that.
Yeah.
Now I want to go see it.
Your work on the Jersey Shore at Rock the Farm and the hunt on the beach is already making a difference.
So a friend of mine from high school did the Rock the Farm one. It was in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. And so he was memorialized there, and they did a picture and did a little write-up. They had a butterfly garden. His name was read, which was super, nice and thoughtful of her. Her daughter struggles, and so she has gotten involved with this organization. And it's so interesting because I said at the service that I was addressing the elephant in the room, and this organization, their logo has an elephant on it for the elephant in the room.
What is this?
I have it.
Yeah.
So what is this called?
That's it.
This is so awesome.
Yeah, that's the T-shirt, and so Healing Us. And anyway, that's the elephant, the elephant in the room. But and that's the front, which is super cool.
Oh wow!
So she did that, and then I have another good friend who's an interior designer in New Jersey, and she had a room sponsored in Tommy's name at what was that one called? There was Rock the Farm
The
and
Hunt on the Beach.
the Hunt on the Beach. So that was, which was also to bring awareness and everything. So he was already involved in two things, up there that were pretty amazing.
Wow. I seriously don't remember ordering the book Dopesick. I literally had to check my Amazon account when it landed on my doorsteps. Now I have the overwhelming need to tell everyone I know to read it. Oh my goodness, we all need the education.
Okay, so guess what? I didn't ever order that. A friend of mine from college ordered it for me and sent it to me.
Before?
Excuse me. No, it was after he passed, but she sent it to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I order this book? And anyway, no, I hadn't. She sent it, and
we have a clip of the author. She gave a short little interview, and I think it'd be important to hear it if you could, please.
Can do.
Read it.
People have asked me how I could stand to spend so much time, 2 years. Some of my stories go back to 2010, so 8 years in some cases, in material that's this dark. But actually, I wrote the book through the lens of writing about these heroic people who were fighting back at every juncture. And so this is families and first responders foremost. I tell the story of the epidemic as I witnessed it landing in 3 different communities in Virginia, starting with the coal fields. But I begin the history of that section by focusing on a rural country doctor named Art Van Zee, who was really the first physician in the country to pick up the phone and call Purdue Pharma and say, I know it says on your insert that this drug is not addictive in all but less than 1% of cases, but we've got high schoolers ODing in the library. So this first group of people, families, community activists, an octogenarian nun, all of whom are sort of fighting back, trying to get the public to pay attention that what we have is kind of the canary in the coal fields here. The second community I focus on is Roanoke, Virginia, where I've been following some families since 2010. That was about the time heroin really landed in a big way here. I tell this story through a single cell, an upper middle class neighborhood where the kids were able to actually hide their addiction longer, and the parents who were in on the secret had the money to send them away to rehab and were too ashamed to let people on. And so the addiction grew sort of cloaked in stigma and shame. And the third location, by the mid-teens, even in pristine farm villages such as Woodstock, Virginia, where I follow the travails of a local high school football star who crosses paths with a twice convicted drug dealer who arrives in town and ends up turning one town with a handful of heroin users into hundreds almost overnight. Trying to answer the question for yet another grieving mother, how did my burly, bright, high school football star son who was a construction worker, never missed a day of work. How did he end up overdosed on somebody else's bathroom floor? Doctors have stopped prescribing opioids largely at the rate that they once were, but right now we have more than 2 million people addicted, and the horse is already out of the barn. So the book also shows you people fighting back, trying to bring harm reduction initiatives to their communities, and try to drastically expand medication-assisted treatment. But through it all, the one through line of it all is this element of stigma. And it's really going to take people understanding that addiction is a chronic relapsing disease, and that we should be talking about it the same way we talk about cancer. And to just sort of remind me of what I hope this book will do. I keep a photo. This is Nicholas, one of the mothers that I write about, gave me, and I have a picture of her daughter on one side, whose story I followed for 2.5 years, and I keep James Baldwin on the other, because he said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And that's really what I'm hoping this book does. It tells us how we got to where we are today, and through these heroic people, it shows us how we're going to get our way out of this.
Wow. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Well, I had to go teach at maybe like last week, and the lady at the front desk had the book on the counter, and I was like, my mom just got that book, and I didn't know you were coming, and I said, and then she had told me, and then I told her, and she was like, you know her? I was like, well, no, I know Nicolette, and now I'm gonna meet Tommy's mom. And she was like, oh my goodness. And I guess I didn't know that you had been telling everybody really about
Dopesick. I've been telling everybody about it. As a matter of fact, at my elementary school, it prompted some of the parents to do a book club type thing.
That's what she was doing.
Okay, so she's one of my parents.
Yes, she has to be. Yeah.
And so I'm going to speak to them on November 7th, or just sit down and chat about stuff.
So it's really, I mean, it's
they're already making a
difference.
I just wanted to tell you
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I mean, everyone that will pick up that book will learn something. This is unbelievable.
Yes, for sure.
Well, and a good friend of mine had surgery recently on a what is it? If you Mike had it. It's
appendicitis.
No.
Yes. You get a bulge. What is it called?
Hernia.
Oh,
gosh, I couldn't think. I was like, is it when you lift weights? I don't know. A hernia, and he had told me that after surgery, they gave him nothing.
Michael, the owner of the studio, broke his leg and had to have surgeries. And I was so worried. I was texting him, going, "Please don't get addicted to pain pills." And
I think they gave him children's asprin.
Yeah, they didn't give it to him.
Well, good.
And
but that's because he's tiny and looks like a child.
This is all you get.
I'm so glad you said that, Spider. I'm not getting in trouble. This is an old graph, but still it is just shocking. When you look at this 2013, 43,982 drug overdose deaths, and in 2017 it was 72,306. That is an enormous jump.
Yeah, there's actually even more than that. I think that number's low.
Is it
honestly
low?
The 2017, it all depends on where you get the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There have been crazy numbers.
Crazy numbers.
Too many. Like you were saying, there was a lot that were suicides that they wouldn't even call a drug overdose.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, someone said that it's so high that it's like a 737 plane crashing every single day with everyone dying on it. Yeah. And if that happened, everyone will be in an uproar. But since it's not a plane crashing,
if ISIS was here killing 174 people a day, there would be SWAT teams on every corner. Right.
Right.
So
you had a good analogy. I don't have to print out of it, but I thought it was very interesting what I remember of it. When we have hurricane.
Yeah.
Like when a hurricane comes, we have all these predictions and safety measures, and then the people come in and clean it all up.
Clean everything up. Yeah.
And no one is doing anything about this, it seems like.
It definitely was more hopeless about a year ago, I think. I mean, I do think that things, like Spider said, I think things are changing. But what really, really needs to change is not just the awareness, but again, the stigma. It all goes back to the stigma, because when there's a stigma surrounding something, people don't talk about it. And so we just have to keep working at that. I think that's the number one thing. If we can get doctors and pharmaceutical companies, because they're being sued, to tone down, but the FDA is about to approve an even stronger opiate than OxyContin for surgeries and stuff, and they say it can't be abused, but that's what they said about OxyContin. So it's just hard to believe.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what are some of the things that would help? Like, what would make a difference? Like, what? I mean, I know talking about it and stuff, but what would be something that people could do, even if they're listening, or like me, or like anyone? Like, what can you do?
I, for one, right now, I'm just trying to get involved in as much as I can. We're going to run in the Shatterproof race on November 17th. We've got a team Tommy. And so, working towards getting all of that together.
What is Shatterproof race? Tell everyone.
Shatterproof is a 5K here in Dallas, and they do them in a whole bunch of cities, too. Okay. It's one of those. And they work to bring awareness and education and also good research-based treatment to people who are unable to have access to it. And that was one of the things Tommy was involved in with Recovery Unplugged, was Face the Music, which is the same kind of thing, only within their community. But but yeah, Shatterproof, like only 1 in 10 people suffering are able to get good treatment. So Shatterproof does that, and they've been around. Excuse me, they've been around for several years, and it's just grown and grown and grown. So
yeah, because rehab is expensive. So if you don't have the money or the means, like, what does one do?
Well, and even if it's an insurance-based rehab, because not all of them take insurance, but even if they take insurance, this happened to Tommy at Recovery Unplugged. So they go through detox and then say 2 weeks of residential, and insurance goes, hey, he's all better.
Right.
So then we end up footing the bill, well, his dad, footing the bill for the rest. Either that or they're done.
Yeah, they
go home, and
that's definitely not enough time.
Right.
No.
Right.
2 weeks.
Right. So there's that. There's figuring out how to somehow not regulate rehab, but somehow have them on the same page, if that makes sense, because there's not that they all have to be exactly alike, but there's so many differing philosophies and all of that. So, and just, we could all open up a rehab tomorrow if we wanted to, right. So there has to be some sort of more regulation on that, I think.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I, for one, I really believe this from the bottom of my heart. I wish that the doctors would change from the beginning, from when they're little, when they're tiny. Don't give so much medication. Don't write those prescriptions. Do other things. Of course, if you need it, take it. I'm not one of those crazy people that doesn't believe in it at all, but only if absolutely needed. I think a lot of it, like you said earlier, it's the habit that it's just because it's what's normal. People do it all the time. That probably will make a difference as well,
but if they're not going to do anything, I think the important part is everything that everyone's talking about, because you can't, how do you make that change? The doctor part, that's like almost.
Well, like for instance here, just sitting here today, you didn't know that hydrocodone was in the same family as heroin.
I had no idea.
So like even little things like that, that people don't know, they go on good faith that the doctor's going to prescribe them something.
Yeah.
And so even just getting out things like that where people go, oh, I don't want hydrocodone. I didn't know that was in the same.
What's crazy is when you say this to me, like hydrocodone, I know it's not good and I wouldn't want it, but to think that is in the same family as heroin, I've never known that in my life. That is insane.
So, I've been prescribed it for like surgeries. So I'm like, but I didn't think it was like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You're right? But
yeah.
is mind-boggling to me, honestly.
Yeah. No, it really is. So, the, awareness in regards to that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And for parents, I think it's important because I know before we even left, you were very like, it's hard for you and I said, well, me and Gino aren't even like in school anymore. And you're like, yeah, but I have a 14-year-old that I need to still get. Mm-hmm. And she, worried.
I mean, she's great, but you never know.
Yeah, you just don't ever know. Yeah.
I mean, it's you don't know who they come across. I mean, there's a thing about success where people say the next step to success is only by an introduction. Like, it makes a difference. Right, but I feel that same way with that as well. You get introduced to someone that is bad news. It is just scary. Right. And you have to be aware and always look at all the things that could possibly happen. The fentanyl thing, the surge is it's just absolutely awful. Wanting to finish your last.
Okay.
Colleen writes, there's not a minute that goes by that I don't think about you. Some of the time I'm choking back tears, and every once in a while I lose it. Mostly I smile at your memory, and I'm so proud of your legacy. The courage to bring awareness to our country's epidemic, empathy for those struggling, and the strength to rid our society of the stigma.
Yeah.
That is your...
And he was doing that in Austin, I mean, he was really working hard to, and, speaking about it. And he was surrounded in Austin by people who were driven by just that, and so he even in life before he died was definitely had the back of people who were suffering with this illness and they were courageous enough to go get help. And, one thing that was shocking to me too, statistic, is that for one solid year of sobriety from an opioid addiction, this is in the book, one solid year on average takes 8 years of in and out of treatment and relapsing and then treatment and then relapsing to get a year of sobriety.
Wow.
So the grip that drug has on the brain and on your body is really, and most people don't have 8 years, right?
Because in one, like you said, your body's, what is it called? Like tolerance for it is changed now. So that one slip up could be a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's so terrifying.
Another, we're in the ballpark, we're in analogy world today, but another analogy too is about the craving. When you can't understand what that craving's like you know that something's bad for you, and why would you just want to shake them and go, what's up? Like, why? But one analogy I heard was, suppose we didn't eat for 5 days and we're starving. Mm-hmm. Now, you might want chocolate cake. I would want a big bowl of pasta, or whatever. But everybody has their own thing that would be like, oh my gosh, I want to eat that so badly. And then someone walks into the room and puts it in front of you, and you're not allowed to have any. And then they walk out and they leave you alone. That's
I was about to say it has to be compared to like food. Like there's some times where I'm like, why did I even eat that? I wanted it bad, like the bad food. Like, crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't want to minimize it, but in trying to understand how bad the craving is, and that your body almost needs it is.
But I think it does help people understand when you put it in those words, because some people would be like, well, why? And then when you put it that way, you're like, well,
Did you ever ask him how he started with the needles?
No.
That wasn't, no.
No, I did not ask him
scary.
that.
I didn't know if you had asked that.
I mean, I'm sure the very typical way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
They're just trying to always, terrible. I think, get,
I wanted to talk about this. This really touched me.
Yeah,
I cannot imagine how you felt just scrolling, because you saw this when you opened Facebook,
I was at school. And school had just gotten out, and
this is a friend of Tommy's.
I that's what came up right there when I opened it up, and I went, oh my gosh, because the first thing I saw was his handwriting. That's so typically his handwriting. And then I was like, the date, and then I Hate Heroin, the bracelet. That was a good friend of his in Austin that got his this tattooed on her wrist. It was from a note that he had written her.
And she said, "Dear heroine, I hate you. You're the sorriest, most deceitful, evil, demonic liar in the world. You took over my friends at their most vulnerable and you lured them into your lair of deceit. Then wrapped your evil talons around them, leaked into their brains and never let go until they were dead. You told them that they were the greatest human beings in the world and then the most worthless. You ostracized them from their family and friends and made them do things they would never ever have done without your influence. You made them lie, cheat, and steal for you. You made them hate themselves for it. That first hit you gave them was the most euphoric and intoxicating feeling they'd ever had. For depressed kids, it was magic. You made them feel so good they'd do anything for just one more, and then, like the vile monster you are, you seduced them into thinking they couldn't live without you. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm sick of losing the people I love because of this disease and the power this evil substance holds. There are ways out. My heart breaks every day for the people who lose their lives to this fight before they find a solution. We need to educate people on the opioid epidemic to end the stigma that comes from being a victim of addiction. This deadly drug does not discriminate when it comes to choosing victims. Age, race, financial status doesn't matter when it comes to opiates. If you're struggling, reach out. I'm always here for people who want help. As I said before, there are ways out. You don't have to die from this."
Yeah, she's recovering. She's that was a really, really good post, I thought, and especially coming from someone who knows firsthand
what it's like.
It's just very it's very powerful.
I wanted to ask one more thing. I found that so amazing. Tommy got a Letterman jacket in high school. Tell that story.
So Christmas 2012, I probably wanted the jacket more than he did. He had these patches for lacrosse, rookie of the year and state championship and all this stuff. And, and how often, honestly, in Texas do you wear that heavy jacket? But anyway.
Not often.
They're super expensive.
Yeah. So anyway, that was one of his big gifts for Christmas that year. And by February, it was gone. It was missing. It was gone. Gone, and I was like, "Where's the jacket?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't know where the jacket is." And I was like, "Oh." Well, shortly after he passed, a girl actually brought it to James's house and dropped it off and said, "I've had this for like 5 years and in my closet." And so then, and she brought it back, and then his dad brought it to me. But she and I went back and forth about it, in conversation via Messenger or whatever. And I mean, it just meant so much for her to bring that jacket back.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, really did. And she had said how much it meant to her to be able to bring it back.
Right.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so special.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you would like to say, Colleen?
Gosh. Just first of all, thank you so much for this forum and for having me. I appreciate it. And, I hope that through this and through talking more about this, that we understand better what's going on in our country. And, and to people who are listening that might be struggling or might have a family member that's struggling, you're not alone, and you may feel like you're alone, but you are not alone.
Reach out.
So reach out. Yes, for sure.
Researching for this, I learned a lesson that I found very important, and I wanted for people to know because I know that my friends that lost their children struggled as they kept going through life and keep going through life when they meet new people. And people are always they always ask questions. No one means anything wrong, but they say, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. How many children do you have?" And people that have lost a child, they struggle with what to say because they don't want to tell that story necessarily to everyone, or they don't also want to say that they now have one less child or whatever. So it's a struggle for these people. And this person said, you should instead say, "Tell me about your family."
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, because I haven't yet, between all of us and anybody listening, I haven't yet gotten to the point where I can speak to a stranger who asks me that question, which you get asked it all the time. The Uber driver. The Uber driver asks.
Yeah.
And so, I haven't yet to a stranger I haven't yet been able to say, and I just say, oh, I have a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old.
Right.
I just can't even.
Well, my mom's good friend, son passed away almost 10 years ago, maybe when 11. We were in 11, when we were in Vegas, 10, and I was with her, and she does not even, and 10 years later said 3. Mm-hmm. Doesn't go,
she had 3 children and said still, but it's a struggle. She told me that's hard. Sometimes she says 3, sometimes she doesn't, because it gets too complicated. So,
well, it's funny how sometimes I'll be with a friend, and that question will come up, and my friend just takes over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll always have 2 kids.
Always.
You will always have 2 kids. Always, always, always.
But I like that people need to maybe ask that instead.
People need to be more aware that this.
How's your tell me about your family.
Tell me about your family. I loved that so much, and that's why I wanted to use that to end the show, because I think it's a way that can change too. Not make things more painful than they already are for you.
Yes.
Would you please give us your social media handles again?
Yes. On Facebook, Colleen Michaelis, Michaelis. On Instagram, call 727, and Twitter, call 727, and those are both COLL 727.
And then what I want to do for our YouTube channel, I would like to get the photo collage that you had.
The slideshow?
The slideshow. I would like to put that on the end of the show, so people can see who Tommy was.
That would be great.
Yeah. If you could send me that,
I will.
Please.
I will.
That would be special.
Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
We're absolutely honored by you being here and by your courage and by your strength, William. Thank you so much.